The story you're about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. The guilty, on the other hand, are on their own.
It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Hi, welcome back. Financial Crisis Talk Center. The topic of the day is identity theft. I've got David Einstandig, Jenny Lingle, Brian Small, myself, Ken Gross from Thav Gross. We're going to flesh out this topic.
Who in this panel has not been a victim of identity theft? I was a couple months ago.
Not me.
You?
Not yet.
No one's
not yet.
gotten your credit card?
I'll give you
for
the
sure.
inspiration.
Wait. Oh, you mean from the standpoint of having somebody steal your credit card? Yes, I've had a credit card stolen, but it's
Okay.
because I left it on the counter. In a
Okay.
Well, there's a difference between someone using your credit card and identity theft. Let me give you the inspiration behind this story. I got in the mail a couple weeks ago a bill from Verizon addressed to my daughter. I looked at the bill, and it didn't even dawn on me instantly that my Verizon bill comes to the office and comes in my name. And I open up the envelope, and it's a bill for $800 with 5 new phones. And I look at it and go, this is a problem. So I instantly call Verizon, and sure enough, someone had... You can't open a Verizon account without a Social Security number. And so her Social Security number was stolen, and they had opened an account and established 5 phones, and she had a good credit score, so they opened up her account without any payment, which I think is ridiculous. And that starts the process of dealing with what do you do about the problem. Beyond the fact that Verizon has investigated the thing and said you have no responsibility to pay, and covering that issue, how do you now protect yourself? That's identity theft because they've gotten your Social Security number. They've pretended to be you. That's a step beyond just grabbing your credit card number and using it, which is also an issue because you have to protect yourself when that happens as well.
Yeah, that's
So
always
that's
been
why
my
I put the sunglasses
Yeah, that's
on,
always
in
been one
case
of my
you're
biggest
wondering.
fears with regard to identity theft. You can change your credit card number, you can change your bank account numbers, but you are stuck with your Social Security number.
Yeah, absolutely. So here are the topics that I want to cover. What do you do if your identity is stolen?
I'm Batman.
All right, there's some good websites out there. The Federal Trade Commission has a good website, has good instructions, and I went through and researched to find out what everyone says, and I found an article at Better Business Bureau, which is basically referring you and quoting from the Federal Trade Commission's recommendations. These are the things that you need to do. These are the steps. You need to flag your credit reports right away because that's where the credit information will go, and you want alerts there so that if there's any activity, you become aware of it so that you can then take steps to correct it if someone's using your identity. You need to contact Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. On the screen, if you're watching the show, the phone numbers will be there, but you can just, Google them as well. You need to call them. You need to always follow up in writing with everything you do. You then need to order your credit reports because you have to look and see what has already happened and see if there's anything incorrect in that report.
Brian, you've reviewed thousands of credit reports. What are some of the things that you've seen because when you would read a report that you would say that's clearly something improper, that's clearly because not everyone necessarily knows how to interpret the data.
Well, you'll see collection agency notices, and you'll talk to the client and go, did you ever have a medical bill from South Poughkeepsie hospital, and they were like, yeah, I never was in South Poughkeepsie. There's a lot of 90% of everybody has wrong information on their credit report at some point in their life, which is one of the reasons why you should be ordering your credit report once a year and disputing incorrect information. Incorrect information can be removed. This is different from identity theft, which is what we're talking about with incorrect information for the most part is a lender has flip-flopped a Social Security number, they've flip-flopped an account number, a collection agency has inverted something, and all of a sudden Bob Smith's information is on your credit report.
Yeah, well, the question that you're asking, David, if someone's identity that has been stolen and you're checking the credit report, you also need to look and see if there's charges that are just inaccurate because someone is using your ID right now, and then you have to notify that creditor right away, and you have to file reports. You have to file a police report. We'll go on to the next thing.
The problem is that it's very difficult to learn about identity theft unless you're actively doing something.
Right. Well, we'll talk about how to identify it in a second. Once you've learned about it, you need to order your credit reports. You should go to annualcreditreport.com is your right to get a free credit report from each of the 3 credit bureaus once a year. That's not freecreditreport.com.
Which costs money.
Of course, in America, freecreditreport.com costs money, whereas annualcreditreport.com doesn't cost money. That's our economic system. But you need to do that in order to protect yourself. Then the next thing you need to do, this is you've already found out that your identity was stolen. You need to create an identity theft report. You actually file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission, and I'm going to put the number on the screen to do that. And that is called a completed FTC affidavit. As part of that, you need to file a police report. The first thing that I did in Jennifer's case is she had to go to Farmington Hills and file a police report that her ID had been stolen with the Verizon, and she had to send that to Verizon, their fraud department, for them to give her back a letter of no responsibility.
So when
on the account.
When Jennifer had to go to the local police, you go to your local police department, correct?
Yes, and then you should also file this FTC affidavit.
So when she goes to the local police department, is she supposed to bring with her identification to prove who she is, as well as, for example, the fraudulent Verizon bill? Is there anything else that she would need when she goes there?
No, I mean, if you bring your driver's license, it's enough.
Okay.
Don't come wearing a disguise.
And do you get the report issued right then and there, or do you have to? How long does it take?
She got the police report, but it was mailed to her a couple of days later. But I think they gave her some kind of filing that she was able to immediately give a police report number to the Verizon investigator so that she could get the no responsibility.
So how long did the whole process take then?
Less than 2-3 days. But that's not the end of the story, because now she's taking care of the Verizon bill, but she has to continue to monitor the credit reports to see if any other use of her card of her identity occurs. Until it stops. You don't know. Until the thief gets caught. We'll be back after the break.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances, and contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Welcome back. We're talking about identity theft and what to do and issues and how to handle it. And let me kind of conclude on the issue like with Verizon or any creditor. Once you've established to the creditor that the charges are incorrect because of identity theft and you've given them the police report, they've done their little fraud investigation, they will then, you need to get a letter from them or a written email saying you're not responsible on the account, and you need to have them contact the credit bureaus, all three of them, to let them, so the credit bureaus pick up from the creditor that any reporting relative to those charges is incorrect and should be deleted from the report.
How long would that take to get deleted?
It takes 60, 90 days before the credit bureaus delete the information, and you absolutely have to follow up on your own to make sure it happens. If everyone here had $1 for every report of how the credit bureaus have failed to do their job, this would be Partyville.
So I'm trying to get a mortgage to buy a house. I got 30 days under my purchase agreement to get approved, and all of a sudden I find out that I got this charge from ABC Company that is completely fraudulent. Is there any method to get the title company, or not the title company, the mortgagee, the mortgage company to deal with that issue? Have we seen that, Brian? Have we seen that, Ken? I mean, what do you do?
But you're going to have a lot of work that you have to do. You have to get the creditor to you have to then come back and establish to the creditor that the charge was inaccurate, and then you have to get. Ideally, you want the creditor then to delete the information from the credit record, or get a letter from the creditor saying they agree that the charge is inaccurate. You give that to the underwriter at the mortgage company; they'll accept that. But they're not going to just necessarily accept your word.
The problem with that is that it used to be, when you were trying to get a mortgage, if you had something that was a legitimate dispute, you could dispute it and still get approved for a mortgage. Now, with the new mortgage regulations, you cannot have any open disputes on your
you get them all. You have to get them all wrapped up.
They have to be wrapped up. So, David, your timeline, if you have negative information on your credit report, you're probably stuck, which is one of the reasons why all my friends who are in the mortgage industry will tell you you must get a really good pre-approval, somebody that actually reviews your credit and your credit score and your credit report before you.
How do I know if I'm getting a really good pre-approval or a crappy pre-approval?
Well,
how's Joe the plumber know the difference?
You need to know whether they've gone through your credit report carefully, and if they have, they're going to see any of these derogs that are showing up to get them. And you can do it on your own.
I think
if you're in that mode, order your credit report.
Well, I think it's important that people monitor their credit report. I think that in your situation, Ken, with your daughter, she caught it right away, so she's got a better shot of nipping this in the bud now. I see a lot of people who wait, or they find things on their credit report, and 3 years later they're in, and there's a million other things on their credit report. If you're going to buy a house, if you're looking at anything, you should be monitoring the credit report the whole way.
Have you gone to the extent and threatened one of the reporting companies that if they don't take it off immediately and your client is going to lose this deal, that you're going to file suit against them?
No, it hasn't come up. The only thing that happened, just to give you the upshot on Verizon, so she goes through this whole process, and sure enough, what comes in the mail last week is a bill for Verizon for $2,500. And I immediately dictate a letter back to Verizon. No, I'm not going to spend an hour. Actually, I did. I picked up the phone and I called. And I get this guy, and he's a very nice guy because Verizon has good service. I said, "Hi, I'm Ken Gross. I'm Jenny's attorney."
Who's the account holder?
Jennifer was, because they opened it under her name. I
Okay.
said, I'm her attorney. I'm calling because she had a fraudulent bill on her account, which has been resolved with Verizon, but she's still getting the bill, and she's very upset about it. The guy said, oh, well, hold on. What's your account number? So I give him the account number. I pause, 40 seconds. He says, well, she owes $2,540. So I, in my normal, calm demeanor, I said to him, I said, hello, did you hear my introduction? What did I tell you? I don't know. Could you repeat it? I said, I'm her attorney. I'm calling because you guys have already written off the bill and sent her a letter of non-responsibility, so we don't want to get the bill. Oh, well, she owes $2,500. Then I got a little bit upset, and I said to him, she doesn't owe $2,500. Then he says, well, customer care hasn't updated the report, so it doesn't show here. So I sent a letter, a threatening letter, under the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act and other cited authorities saying don't send her any more bills, kind of because I was annoyed. And then the next day, I got a collection letter. So it's an ongoing battle that you have to...
So where's it at?
I'll keep you posted as events...
So how long has this been going on?
Well, this whole window of events has only been going on about 3 weeks. It's not very long, 3-4 weeks.
3 weeks of agony.
Yeah, I mean, but that problem will get resolved. Big important issue is what red flags do you need to watch for? How do you avoid this? The big key is you need to watch what's coming to you in the mail. Watch for mistakes on your bank statements, credit cards. Look at the Target thing. If you have a Target credit card, your ID, your email has been stolen, your information's been stolen, it's in the hands of people that you don't want it to be in. You need to be watching your bank statement on a daily basis, online, seeing if there's any charges coming through relative to anything that are inappropriate. If you see one, you have to take action.
When was the last time you pulled your credit report?
It's been a while that I've pulled my credit report personally, probably over a year. I pulled Jennifer's right away.
3 months ago.
Jenny?
But I do the once a year as soon as I can.
Jenny?
I do it every year.
I mean, I've done it inside of a year, so I know I'm not up for my annual report free one yet.
That's the problem, though. A year isn't enough. You should be able, I think you should be able to access your credit report once a month for free. It's electronic. Why can't it just be done?
I bet I would be willing to venture that you will see that come as a result of the Target fiasco and everything else. We need to get into that direction.
I mean, why should I have
quickly.
to pay somebody to monitor my credit report? Why can't I do it myself? Well, I can't do it myself if I can only look at it once a year.
Yeah, there's no
I
question
can get
about
a
it.
subscription to
there's a cost to maintain
to
that data.
TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian.
There's a cost of those companies to maintain that data warehouse. They're in business.
So
I understand they're in business, but they're also
they'll-
collecting improper information.
So they'll raise the price of the free credit report that they charge for right now. They
Yeah.
still have all
Hold
of
on.
their monitoring
Those reporting
services and everything
agencies,
else.
they don't make up the information.
No, they
report,
receive the information.
They report what's reported to them.
That is a true statement. But it's the source of your future credit.
Well, we're coming up on a break. I want to say what we're going to cover in the last segment because we've kind of
Already?
We could spend a lot of time on identity theft, but a little quick thing on how to protect your ID, and then I want to talk about how do you who's liable for what, and then a little, if we have time at the end, we're going to talk about these monitoring services. Are they worth it or not? We'll be back after the break.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Do you have tax problems, unfiled returns? Facing levies on wages in your property? You need an expert, not a cartoon character or salesman. Thav Gross is your solution.
You need to look at the big picture. That's what we do. We develop a plan that's right for you.
I had major tax problems. I didn't know what to do.
You need to address the problem now. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Are you struggling to pay your mortgage? Afraid of foreclosure and the financial mess it can cause? Time is not on your side. Call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist. For years, Alan has been helping distressed homeowners navigate through the short sale process. His experience will get you out of your home without the credit score damage that follows foreclosure. If you want a fresh start, you need to call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist, 248-854-3829 or MetroDetroitShortSale.com.
All right, welcome back. We're talking identity theft, but let me give a few announcements first. We have a seminar coming up very soon, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Take a look. Date and time is posted on the screen in terms of the times. If you want to sign up for the seminar, go to our website, stavgross.com, financialcrisistalkcenter.com. We cover all of the issues, including we'll have a little topic on identity theft. We're going to talk, Brian has a new area on budgeting. We'll talk about student loan debt. In addition to how do you get rid of credit card debt, solutions inside and outside of bankruptcy. Not every solution is right for bankruptcy. Our theory is the cheapest, fastest way to get rid of your debt is the fastest way to start saving and preserving your future income, but it takes analysis. Short sales are still a viable situation, but you have to be careful right now because of possible tax consequences. You have to watch out, and then you have to evaluate. Loan mods are still out there and available, and if you're fighting foreclosure, you need to be proactive. So, encourage you.
Tell me about what my liability
seminars.
is and how quick I got to act.
Before I tell you about the liability, I'd like to thank our sponsors.
No.
If it's okay with you. Ben Johnson Law, Gold Star Law, Samasco Law, Double Action Shooting Range and Gun Shop, Spine Specialists of Michigan, Elite REO Services, Alan Stalter, and coming on board shortly, Cardiology Associates.
Okay.
Now, what do you want to know?
I want to know how quickly do I have to act, or do I have to act at all when I become aware of identity theft? And how much will it cost me?
It's in your interest to act quickly because it's your identity that's been stolen. How much will it cost you? It depends on what avenue you proceed. It doesn't have to actually cost you anything from the standpoint of contacting the credit bureaus, letting them know, and filing a police report doesn't cost any money in order to do that. In terms of monitoring it, what your exposure is a different
I have
issue.
a question. When you say contacting the credit bureaus, when you do that, does that mean that when somebody's applying for a credit under my name, the credit bureau is going to cause it to be denied, or somebody's going to contact me to seek the approval of that application? How does that work?
I don't even know what you're saying. I don't understand the question, to be perfectly honest.
No mas.
If somebody goes and applies for credit in my name,
yeah,
and I flagged at the credit bureau, what happens?
You're going to get a notice from the credit bureau that there's been activity on your report and there's been an inquiry, and then you have to then take steps to find out what it is and whether it's right or wrong. You're not going to get a phone call that says, Mr. Small, you've applied for credit in Poughkeepsie, Iowa. Is that correct? It's not that hands-on.
Ken, but someone takes my credit card and they charge $1,500. How do I have to pay it?
All right. Well, let's look at I'm going to put a chart up on the screen if you're watching on the television show what your liabilities are. On credit cards under the FCBA, your liability maxes out for unauthorized use at $50. If you report the loss on your credit card before it's been used and then it's subsequently used, you have no liability. Also note, your credit card companies have sometimes better policies in this. This is federal law saying what your maximum exposure is. On the use of ATM or debit cards, here are the rules. If you report it before any authorized use, 0. If within 2 business days after you learn about the use, your maximum cost is $50 on a debit card. If more than 2 days after you learn the loss, but less than 60 calendar days after the statement is sent to you, $500. If more than 60 calendar days after your statement is sent to you, all the money taken from your ATM debit card account and possibly more, for example, money in accounts linked to your debit account, What that means is the burden and onus is on you to examine your bank statement, and you have to report quickly when you do it. The person who never reconciles their checkbook and just lives day by day by looking up the account balance of what they have in cash flow is exposed to a lot of liability, and that's a very sloppy way to run your life. Banks do make mistakes on your bank statements. You should reconcile your checkbook every single month. In this room, Brian, do you reconcile your checkbook every month?
Every week.
Jenny?
About every day.
David?
I look at it every day. I know exactly what's cleared and what hasn't cleared, and I pay it all electronically.
And you make sure it adjusts at the end of the month, and you check off cleared checks?
I do it just how Chuck used to do it.
Well, I do it every month. So we've got 3 out of 4 are right on spot. You do the examination by eyes, but you're watching to see what charges go through.
Not. I also my mobile app with my lender. I have set a certain dollar amount. If there's any transaction over a certain dollar amount, I get an email, no matter what it is, and you can set that.
Right. And that helps you too. Absolutely. You know, I watch my account balance in the account, and I pull up at least twice a week, and I look at the activity to see what charges are going through. Particularly, I have we had a Target credit card, so I know that that has been stolen, and it's a question of you have to make a business call. Do you want to close all of your bank accounts over that concern if they're linked, or do you want to monitor? I'm going right now on the theory of monitoring. If I see one thing happen, I would go and close all the accounts and open new accounts.
One of the suggestions, if you are a Target shopper, even if you don't believe that your data was stolen, you can just ask your lender to reissue your debit card with a new number,
which is a good strategy. Now, one of the topics I wanted to talk about, but we've run out of time, so we'll do it on a different show. I think we could probably spend the whole show on it. We could probably spend a few on this. Is what about these identity theft protection monitoring services?
Sum it up.
Are they worthwhile or are they not? Well, Consumer Reports at the beginning of 2013 wrote a pretty scathing report saying they're not worth it. There's other ones that say there are. The important thing is the services that are provided, can you get them elsewhere is what you need to analyze. And if you can, that can be a better, cheaper solution. But I can't. We'll go into it in greater detail on a future show. That wraps up this segment of the Financial Crisis Talk Center talking about identity theft. On the next segment coming up, we're going to talk about how financial crisis management can change your life.
In a moment, the results. In the court of public opinion, Ken Shades Gross was found guilty of negligent, obscure movie references and bad Bobby Kennedy impersonations. He was sentenced to a life term of dealing with David Einstandig. Brian Small, the leader of the Gang of Three, was found guilty of illicit references to Guam. He was sentenced to at least 3 more years of dealing with Brady Hoke as the Michigan football coach. David Einstandig pleaded to a lesser charge of annoying Ken. His sentence is obvious. Jenny Lingle dropped a dime on all 3. She is now in the Witness Protection Program.